Hi, welcome to the mindset video for this week. This week, I'd like to revisit the concept of one-to-one correspondence in math briefly and talk to you just a little bit more about it. It's so incredibly important to building those foundational math skills. It's very easy to do if you know what you're doing and what activities to focus on and how to mix them together. And I wanted to offer you a few additional ideas for ways that you can keep it fresh and fun and continue to work on one-to-one correspondence. You've been working a lot on counting skills, counting objects, and also just counting verbally. And what one-to-one correspondence is, we reviewed this a couple of times up to this point, but just to go over it one more time. One-to-one correspondence is the idea that numbers stand for a certain quantity of things. So a lot of times when, we teach counting, you'll hear little songs designed to teach them, or we simply, practice counting verbally, and we teach it very much in the same way that you would teach a nursery rhyme or teach the alphabet. You teach it as a series of words that you say one after the other. And this is very good to do. I mean, obviously children need to learn that numbers come in a certain pattern and that 5 comes after 4 and before 6. And these are things that they need to learn. The problem is when you teach counting only in that way, only counting, either not enough variety of objects, or when you're focused on counting verbally, or even counting the written numerals, that children do often confuse it in their minds with much like learning a nursery rhyme. It's a series of words that you say, rather than grasping the foundational concept that these are amounts of a specific thing. It's a symbol. 5, whether it's the word that we say or whether it's the written numeral 5, stands for 5 things. And that's a very abstract concept because it can apply to anything. It can be 5 ideas. It can be 5 cookies or 5 cars or 5 shoes or 5 thoughts that you think. It can be 5 of anything, but 5 is always 5, and it's always that quantity. So that's what you're trying to do with one-to-one correspondence, is impress upon your child that each of these numbers that they say stands for a certain quantity of things, no matter what you apply it to. 5 will always mean 5, 6 will always mean 6, and that as you go up in the pattern, each number stands for one more than the previous number. So you don't have to teach this explicitly. Children learn this implicitly by just focusing on counting a wide variety of objects. They begin to learn. So I've seen a couple of moms have difficulty because they have their routine and they teach counting with the same objects each time. So for instance, while they're getting their child dressed, their child might have, a poster on their bedroom wall with teddy bears lined up. So every day they're going to practice counting, and as they're adjusting their child, they count the teddy bears. If you're not careful to count a wide variety of objects, and this is a wonderful thing to do. I'm not saying that this is a bad thing to have this routine of counting every day. But if you're not careful to count a wide variety of things and you're only using one particular thing like that, then children can very easily develop the impression that, for instance, 5 stands for that blue teddy bear, which is the 5th in line. And instead they need to expand that to 5 is the 5th of anything that I'm counting. We could count the teddy bears in a different order and the 5th bear would be a different one in line. So 5 just stands for a quantity of things that comes after 4 and before 6. So a lot of ways to work this into your everyday routine, besides counting just simply a wide variety of different objects. Dice is a fantastic tool to use for this. Children begin to quantify the dots, which will come in handy in later math when they're doing worksheets and adding and things of that nature. So working with dots, and it helps children to really visualize, at least up to 6, which is the maximum number on a standard die, what 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 looks like, because they see that number of dots on the dice. So playing with dice is a fantastic tool for this. Similarly, dominoes, if you play with dominoes with the dots, anything like that, where you count the dots on a domino, you know, play little dominoes games with them, play a matching game where they're matching up the numbers of the dots. That's another fantastic tool to use for one-to-one correspondence. Anything that matches a quantity with a number is also a fantastic game. So now that you've been working on number recognition for a while, maybe your child is really comfortable with recognizing the numbers 1 through 10, you can begin to use that to your advantage for one-to-one correspondence. So one of my favorite games is to take the plastic eggs that you would find like at Easter time and use these plastic eggs. You can write a different, with a marker, just write a number on each egg, 2, 7. You want to make sure that they're numbers that your child is comfortable recognizing. And then you can do it a couple of different ways. You can either pre-fill them with something of a certain amount, cereal pieces or any other small little item, and then have your child open them and count them. Or a little more advanced thing is to have your child fill them with that number of items. So, you're going to dump a pile of cereal on the table or put it in a bowl and have your child put 2 pieces in the egg that has the 2 written on it and 5 pieces in the egg that has the 5 on it. So it's not only reinforcing counting and number recognition, but it's also reinforcing that one-to-one correspondence of that 5, it is symbolized by this symbol that's written on this egg, and it means 5 of some particular item. And again, you can switch up the items that you're putting in the eggs if you want to help just further reinforce that concept. If you do count things in a sequence, you can line up toy cars, for instance. Line up toy cars and count the cars. You might have 10 cars in a row, and then show your child how you can rearrange the cars in a totally different order and count them again, and that it will still be 10 or whatever that number is. That the order doesn't matter, it's the amount that matters. And again, that will help to avoid confusion and avoid some of the pitfalls that come with counting the same thing in the same order every time. It really helps to just ingrain the concept of one-to-one correspondence in your child's mind, without needing to explicitly explain this concept to them. And once your child has a really strong grasp of this and they have an opportunity to practice, particularly with either 10 and under objects that come in sets of 10 and under, or when they're a little bit older, 20 and under, it's going to help them pick up on addition and subtraction just naturally, so much more easily than trying to teach them in a very abstract way. When children are too focused on just repeating numbers and counting numbers in a sequence without a really strong foundation of what that means in the physical world, what do those numbers stand for, then once they get to addition and subtraction, it's a very abstract concept. They're dealing with symbols on a page without a really deep grasp of what those symbols stand for and that they're real things in real space. And so by really working on one-to-one correspondence, then that will pay off big time once you get to addition and subtraction. They will be able to naturally see in their minds how 2 and 3 go together to make 5. So it's definitely well worth putting the time in now to really get that down. And yes, it will pay off big time in the future for kindergarten and beyond.